In this knife talk video, we're going to look at the Spyderco Military. And this is a full serrated plain version, basically. This is one of the classic model lines from Spyderco. It's one they've had for a long time. They've had all kinds of different, dealer exclusives with certain color G10 handles and different blade steels, lots of, high-end blade steels, CPM S110V, all kinds of steels they've put on the military frame. So it's really a classic from Spyderco, one they've put out and had for a long time, and also one that they haven't changed too much in quite a while. So that's something that's a little different for Spyderco. One of Spyderco's really great things about them as a company is their CQI, or constant quality improvement. That just means that they're always making improvements to knives, like the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. I think it was in 2010 they changed the pivot to make it smoother. Lots of changes and things like that. Probably some that we don't know about, and that could be the case for the military also. But one thing on the military here is that it's kept the liner lock. So the Paramilitary 2 has a compression lock, and people have kind of been interested in a military size knife. The military is bigger than the Paramilitary 2 and a lot bigger than the Paramilitary 3. I think it's right around a 4 or maybe 4.1 inch blade, whereas the Paramilitary is about a 3.5 or 3.6 inch blade. People have wanted a military sized knife with the compression lock for a while, but I guess Spyderco's Sal and Eric decided that this is kind of it works the way it is, and that's true. This is a classic liner lock. This one has been used by my cousin who's a Marine. I don't remember exactly if this is a knife that he had and used while he was deployed or not, but it's definitely been used really hard. That's kind of the key there. You can see that there's a lot of wear on the blade. But kind of talking about the lock, it does slip a little bit on this one, and part of that I think is because the lock face is pretty radiused. So there is some slip. It does have some forward and back blade play, but it's pretty solid. I don't really think it would unlock on you unless you were, smashing against a rock or something. So, a pretty solid lock with this, what they call a liner lock. I forget exactly. Spyderco has a specific name, Walker liner lock, because it was invented by a knife maker named Walker. They haven't changed that. And then the other thing that they haven't changed is the clip. So the Spyderco Military still only comes with a very not deep carry tip down clip. So generally people have been liking more so a tip up carry recently, and I prefer tip up. Usually I do carry some knives tip down, but what I prefer most is to have the option to move it back and forth. So you don't have that option with the Spyderco Military. They all come with tip down. For the right hand, it's on the right side, or this side here, and the lock, it's always on the lock side. So they do make left-hand versions of this also. But it doesn't carry very deep. There's a lot sticking out of your pocket when you have this in your pocket. You can see there's, I think probably over an inch of handle that's going to be sticking out. So another thing that they haven't changed that I wish they would, I think that I would prefer a compression lock over the liner lock, and definitely I would prefer to have the option to move the clip around. But the main thing that I wish that they would change is the handle shape. And now, I talked about on the Paramilitary 2, the handle shape, the fact that this, really big upward turn at the butt that makes like an inch of the handle not usable. When you grip it, you're not using the bottom inch of the handle. Now on the Spyderco Military, because it's bigger, my hand fits in that main grip area. It doesn't crowd it like it does in the Paramilitary 2. But on the Paramilitary 2, this area here is more pronounced. There's more of a pronounced choil, whereas on the military it's kind of just a little bit of a hump. It's not very pronounced. So you know, I don't think that it really would ever happen, but I always feel like when I'm using, I've had a military before, I've always felt like when I was using it, it feels like my hand's going to slip forward. And again, I don't really think that it would, unless maybe you were stabbing it into wood or something, but it feels that way. It feels like it's so much leaning, you know, everything is leaning towards the blade that it's almost like a safety hazard. So I wish, you know, it doesn't matter as much because the handle's so much bigger on the military than on the paramilitary too, but I do think that they could use more of the handle for the grip area. But more so on the military, I wish that they would make the choil more pronounced like it is on the paramilitary too. I just think it would make it more secure, less feeling like your hand's going to slip forward, and also would make the forward choil a little bit more functional, so your finger would lock in a little better. But, you know, those are some things that they haven't changed in a long time, which is, like I say, you know, not really usually the case for Spyderco. They update things pretty regularly. But it works how it is. You know, a lot of people really like this knife. It's one of the classic tactical knife designs. And it is for a reason. You know, it works. It works really well. And it's a big knife. Again, you know, over a 4-inch blade, I believe. And for its size, it's relatively lightweight because the liners don't go the whole way. So this is G10, I think all the way up to like right here. It's just G10 on the non-locking side, and then there's like an area here that's metal. I don't really remember if there is an area there that's metal. I haven't taken one apart in a long time, but I think there is. And then you see there's the lock, which is inset into the handle, but it doesn't go the whole way down. So it's G10 up to about here, and then you have the lock and some liner along here. Now, for a while, everybody was super into overbuilt knives. Everything was, you know, a huge slab of titanium, and that's just not necessary. And that's kind of one of the things about this knife that I like is you really don't need a huge slab of titanium for your knife to keep from breaking. It doesn't even really help that much. This liner lock is just as thick as most of the cutouts on those, you know, overbuilt tactical knives. So it's going to be just as strong, even though it doesn't have super thick full-length liners and everything like that. So I like that. You know, it's lightweight, so it's not going to, you know, wear you down or whatever, and it's going to work for cutting because it has this really great blade shape. So rather than being a super thick blade, which a lot of those overbuilt type military or tactical knives have, this one's a pretty normal blade width. It's not super wide. It's wider than some of Spyderco's knives, but it's not super wide. It's wide enough to be strong, you know, strong enough for what you actually use a knife for, without making it so that it can't cut. And it does have the full flat grind, which Spyderco uses a lot, and again, that makes it slice better. So actually do what a knife is for, which is, you know, cutting. This one here, as you can see, is the full serrated version. My cousin really likes the serrations. I think that Spyderco does serrations really well. I just usually don't get serrated knives. You know, they have half serrated and, you know, plain edge versions. So it's up to, you know, what you prefer really. Serrations, if you're not going to sharpen the knife very often, will cut longer because, you know, the kind of valleys in there stay sharper longer. But as you can see, this knife's been used pretty hard. I had to kind of put a really wide bevel on the tip there because it was broken off a little bit. But it has a really nice blade design here. This blade is really close to the paramilitary, obviously, but also to the new Police 4, which is really a great blade shape. It's really utilitarian, and of course you could use it for tactical. I mean, it's called the military for a reason, but very utilitarian also. I've used them for, you know, normal stuff like opening boxes and everything like that. Could definitely use it to cut your food, and you know, or your MRE or whatever. And you know, everything else, it's got lots of straight edge here and then a good sweeping kind of belly up there. So really nice blade design on it, and it comes together to again be a really classic you know, kind of tactical knife. Has a little bit of a forward cant when you're holding it, so that the tip's a little bit forward, which makes it easy to cut things and stuff. So just one of the classic tactical knife designs. Again, I do think that there are some things that could be changed to improve upon. I would really like for there to be a military size knife with the features of the paramilitary 2, meaning the compression lock, the more pronounced finger choil, and then the 4-way pocket clip. And I hope that they do a military 2 relatively soon, but people have been asking for that for a long time and it hasn't happened yet, so don't really know when that will happen, but I think it will be a move in the right direction when it does happen, even though as the military is, as it's been for a long time, it does work well. It's a classic tactical knife for good reason, and one of Spyderco's most popular and well-known knives for good reason also. I hope you've enjoyed this video on the Spyderco military. If so, don't forget to like the video, and if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them. I like to see what you guys have to say. I've got lots more 1-minute overviews and knife talk videos coming up, so go ahead and subscribe to my channel so you can get notifications for them, and don't forget to do good.